actually delayed the recall of the drug, and that subsequent animal testing has shown it to be almost impossible to induce these malformations in laboratory animals, including various strains of mice, rabbits, dogs, hamsters, primates, cats, armadillos, guinea pigs, swine, and ferrets. Only in one or two certain rare breeds of rabbit, and occasionally primates, were malformations induced, and only then when the drug was given in massive doses.
It never ceases to amaze me that people try to argue that more animal experiments would have prevented thalidomide. It wouldn't have. Here's what happened. Many babies got born like me. They started doing loads of tests on many different species, almost none of which suffered the ill effects of the drug seen in humans. Eventually they discovered that New Zealand white rabbits also gave birth to deformed offspring, but only when they were given ridiculously large amounts of the drug. So it would have come onto the market anyway, even if they'd known about the New Zealand white rabbits, because a vast majority of the species had no ill effects from the drug. The Journal of American Medical Association in 1975 state that it had been established that man is 60 times more sensitive to thalidomide than the mouse, 100 times more than the rat, 200 times more sensitive than the dog, and 700 times more sensitive to thalidomide than the hamster. And those are all species that are very popular with animal experimenters. So what we draw from that is this. Today, if thalidomide was trying to be marketed by some scientists to go onto general release, the weight of evidence from animal experiments would suggest that yes, thalidomide is perfectly safe to use.
Since thalidomide, all drugs and thousands of other chemical substances which find their way into the environment have been tested on animals in an attempt at avoiding human birth defects. In the wake of this increased animal testing, in the 5 years to 2002, birth defects have risen by 50%, with 1 in 16 babies now being born having some type of defect, according to the Birth Defects Foundation. Medical advances have also been delayed for many years due to reliance upon animal experiments, such as the introduction of the antibiotic penicillin, which was initially deemed unsafe due to the results of tests on guinea pigs to which it is hazardous. It was by good luck that in the initial toxicity tests we used mice, because if we had used guinea pigs, we would have concluded that penicillin is toxic. Sir Howard Florey. Meanwhile, misleading animal experiments have often been hazardous to human health in other ways. One example being the knowledge of the dangers surrounding smoking, which was delayed because of misleading results of tests on animals. We are told by those who defend animal experiments that vaccines have been responsible for the eradication of infectious diseases, and thus we owe an enormous debt to the role of animals in their development. In reality, vaccines were not responsible for the decline in infectious diseases, which was accomplished largely due to improved social factors, housing, sanitation, and nutrition. As can be seen in the following graphs, the diseases were well into decline, and in some cases almost off the graph, before the introduction of the vaccines. The suggestion on the part of the vivisectors that vaccines derived from experiments on animals have been the cause of the decline of infectious diseases is simply not true. Furthermore, there is evidence to suggest that vaccination might well be responsible for a worldwide epidemic of immune and autoimmune disease conditions, encephalitis, autism, asthma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, ME, diabetes, meningitis, cot death, learning and behavioral problems, social violence, and criminality. Concerned parents are advised to learn more about this subject before deciding whether to have their children vaccinated, and there are numerous good websites and books on this subject, with Vaccines, Are They Really Safe and Effective? By Neil Z. Miller being particularly recommended.
When it comes to animal experimentation and diabetes research, the key thing to remember is the golden rule of vivisection, that no results from animal experiments can ever be reliably transferred to human beings. There are too many unpredictable physiological differences. Now, when Banting and Best did their horrendously cruel dog experiments in the early 1920s, they succeeded in producing a form of insulin that was actually harmful to the first human patient who tried it, a 14-year-old boy called Leonard Thompson. That injury to that patient had not been predicted by the animal experiments. In fact, the basic foundational knowledge regarding diabetes was established through the study of human beings, not animals. Animal experimentation can never give reliable, dependable results for application to human health research. It couldn't do so 100 years ago, and it cannot do so today. The practice is morally and medically bankrupt. It should be stopped, and stopped now.
Research into AIDS is responsible for the death of many thousands of laboratory animals, including countless primates. However, it has been a total impossibility to infect chimpanzees, our closest relative, with HIV, the virus said to be the cause of AIDS. And the search for a cure for this disease has been a costly, futile business. Furthermore, there is a strong body of evidence suggesting there is in fact no one single cause of AIDS, that there is no proof of any single virus responsible existing, and that in reality a whole host of different diseases and factors combined are the cause. Clearly something which would be of no interest to those involved in the multi-billion-pound search for an AIDS vaccine. But it is not just pharmaceutical drugs which are damaging human health. Hundreds of thousands of combinations of medical, industrial, military and agricultural synthetic toxins are in the air, ground, water and food, killing and poisoning people, animals and the environment alike. Many of these chemicals reached the market through fraudulent tests of safety and efficiency on animals. Vivisection is, literally, costing us the earth. In 1950, the cost to the British National Health Service was around £350 million. The inflationary equivalent, some 55 years later, is around £6.5 billion. Approximately 1/12 of what the NHS is now actually spending, over £76 billion annually. With rising ill health and rising NHS expenditure, an economic disease gridlock is only a matter of time. Despite decades of animal research at a cost of billions of pounds and animals' lives, human health continues to decline in many areas, despite, or more likely because of, our reliance and faith in animal experiments and testing. Some recent government figures show that 45% and rising of adults report chronic ill health or disability, and this rises to 60% in the over 65s. 1 in 6 children under 5. 1 in 5 5 to 16-year-old. A quarter of people aged 16 to 44. In total, around 1/2 of the population now